Hello, St. Luke's family. This is Pastor Jim, and it's great to be with you. Today, we are still on our series, Small but Mighty, the smallest books in the Bible that still offer just a really good challenges because they're in God's Word, even though they're small. So today, we are looking at the book of Haggai. It is the second shortest book in the Old Testament. A couple weeks ago, we looked at Obadiah, which is the shortest, and this is Haggai. Haggai is again, the minor prophets, and it comes at a really turning point in Israel's history. Israel had been in exile for a number of years, and now they were allowed to come back. They've come back to Jerusalem, and they are allowed to rebuild. They start rebuilding their lives and everything in it. The book of Haggai is the name of a prophet, and there are actually three books that center around this period in Israel's history. Ezra, which also details the same time frame, looking at the rebuilding of the temple as Haggai did. It's also with rebuilding the temple, and then Nehemiah, which is on building the wall around Jerusalem. So what happens? So the people come back. And they are concentrating, working hard to rebuild their lives. They've been away for a couple generations in some cases, and they're rebuilding trying to get to where they were and what they had. But Haggai, the prophet, calls to them and says, God's saying, while you're taking all your time working on yourselves, you're forgetting some other things. So listen to what he says here, and this is Haggai 1, verse 7, starting to give careful thought to your ways, God says. And a little bit later, he says, you expected much, but you see it turned out to be little. And what you brought home, I blew away. Why? Declares the Lord Almighty, because of my house, which remains in a ruin, while each of you is busy with his own house. So the people were there, they're building their houses, they're building up their lives again, doing the best that they could to do what they could to rebuild their families and their lives. And at the same time, God is saying, over here is all this other work. It's just in a shambles. Nothing's gone on there. You've been spending all your time busying yourself with your own stuff and have forgotten my house. So God says, take time also, while you're doing your own, to rebuild my house, to rebuild the temple of God. And the people hear this word and they start to rebuild, and they rebuild God's temple. They take time, they take their finances, they take what they need to do to rebuild God's house. And at the end of the book, God then says again, and now take time to consider. He uses the same words that he did earlier. Look carefully at what happens next. And he says, watch, because I'm going to be in this, and I'll bless you. Even though you haven't spent all your energy on yourself, now I'm in the midst of it, and I'm going to help you. So what are the challenges in here? What are the takeaways from this? I think the challenges that the book of Haggai gives to us is, in our incredibly busy society, in our incredibly busy lives, it's very easy to say, I've got more than I have to handle just on what I need to do for myself and my family, let alone anyone else. God, I think, asks us still to consider your ways. Consider my ways, consider our ways. And what is out there that God may want us to do besides our own thing? I think of in our own community how powerful days like the cool days have been, the community outreach of love, and getting and spending a day that could have been busy on our own lawns, fixing things around the house, doing whatever things that we need to do, but spend a day out helping someone else. And it was fulfilling. It was like, wow, this is what life is really about. gets us out of ourselves. And I think that's what God reminds us through the book of Haggai, that we are more than the things that are just set in front of us, but to be paying attention to and looking at the work of God that he may have us doing in others and through others. I challenge you to take a look and read through the book of Haggai, 2 chapters, and see what God speaks to you in that. And today, also ask special prayers for the people that were involved in the accident that was in our community in Cuyahoga Falls yesterday, and also to all those that will be affected by Hurricane Laura coming up into Louisiana and Texas, and maybe the storm that comes after that as well. God be with you all.